Breaking right now on WHAS 11 News at 4 o'clock. Life in prison for the man convicted of killing Crystal Rogers, her ex-boyfriend. We're going to take you live to the courthouse with the late-breaking developments this afternoon.
Also coming up at 4, the man accused of shooting and killing a Louisville woman at a boat ramp and trying to hide her body makes a court appearance today. We'll take you there.
And it's bad. The financial status of JCPS. Yes, our school system. The deficit is so huge, there's talk of selling off assets to cover costs and cutting salaries. Right now at 4 on WHAS 11 News. Breaking news right now at 4 o'clock. Life in prison for Brooks Houck, convicted in the killing of Crystal Rogers. The judge handing down the sentence in the last hour, bringing a major chapter in the decade-long Bardstown murder case to a close. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this continuing developing story. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Connie Leonard. Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson, two men found guilty in the murder of Bardstown mother Crystal Rogers in July, received their sentences today. Houck, Rogers' ex-boyfriend, was convicted of murder and tampering with physical evidence. He's been sentenced to life in prison.
Joseph Lawson, meantime, was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. He has been given, the judge, moments ago, a sentence of 25 years. Again, that is the recommended sentence that the jury recommended at the end of the trial, the judge following along with it.
All right, and we are talking about this case.
That's right, with our legal analyst. WHAS 11's legal analyst Nick Mudd is back with us, of course, of the Mudd Law Group. And you listened to the sentencing. You heard Sherry Ballard on the stand. Look at Brooks Houck and say, tell me where my daughter is.
And that's the mystery still, is we don't know where the body is. And that's the question we all thought we were going to get answered in this trial. I mean, we discussed it at length, and, you know, it's something we all thought was going to happen, was going to come out, or at least some allusion to where she was buried or what happened to her. And unfortunately, we don't know exactly when she was killed. We don't know where she was killed. We don't know how she was killed. None of these questions were answered, unfortunately. And so, you know, emotional day for the Ballard family, terrible day for them, sad day, upsetting, but certainly they still have more questions than answers is the biggest issue.
And that's the thing, you know, it's not over for them. They've had 10 years to have these feelings and to let them out on Brooks Houck today. And they still don't have answers in Tommy Ballard's death. And many of the family members addressed Tommy Ballard's death to Brooks Houck today, saying he was responsible for that.
Right. I mean, we don't know where Crystal's body is. There was no weapon. We don't even have a motive still. But Brooks Houck will spend the rest of his life in prison. Any chance for any successful appeal in your mind?
I don't think so. There were no major issues specifically with Brooks Houck, I think, that came up. Certainly there was some hearsay that I was concerned about that the judge did let in, but I just don't think it rose to the level to cause the case to get overturned on appeal and come back. You know, and certainly it's a case that, you know, the prosecution laid it out to show that, hey, this is a circumstantial case. And it was a difficult case, but at the end of the day, they convinced 12 jurors. They presented a very coherent timeline, which is what we talked about a lot, was that timeline. And they did so in a way that was reasonable, that makes sense, and they narrowed it down to one person at the end of the day, which was Brooks Houck. And they really didn't do anything dirty. They didn't do anything with, you know, other bad acts or anything like that. So it was a clean trial. And I just don't see many appeal issues specifically as it relates to Brooks Houck.
And Nick, explain to people at home, a lot of people think, oh, he's got life, he's done.
Right.
But that's really not the case. The families will have to be going back to talk to folks about keeping him behind bars.
And here comes a civil case, too, as well.
Right, right. Unfortunately for the families, specifically for the Ballard family, it's not over. And so, you know, there's an appeal they've got to deal with still. That can go, I've mentioned before, it could take 4 years, 5 years in appeal. Sometimes it goes on that long. Number two, he is eligible for parole at 20 years, minus the time he's got in. So I believe he's got about 2 years in custody, give or take. So in about 18 years from now, he will be up for parole. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to get parole, but he is eligible. Now, certainly the family would be able to weigh in on that. It is highly, highly unlikely he would be granted parole at that time, but certainly it is an opportunity for him to be released.
We do have some clips from the courtroom. I want to ask our folks in the control room if we could run where we could run Sherry Ballard. We'll do that in a second. First, let's go to Alexandra Goldberg. She is joining us now. She has covered the sentencing today. And Alexandra, you also heard the reaction outside the courtroom a moment ago from a very emotional Mike Ballard.
Right, Doug, and Mike Ballard was just one of the family members who spoke. Mike Ballard, of course, speaking right after the sentence was delivered by Judge Charles Sims, but many of these family members giving victim impact statements. Of course, tears were shed. It was highly emotional, but many of these family members were very direct, speaking directly to Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson. One of the family members, Sherry Ballard, speaking for one of the first times in several years, speaking directly to Brooks Houck, saying that today justice was served, but there's one more thing they need to finally find peace. Take a listen.
I miss my daughter every second of every day. I can say that one day I feel like I will see my daughter again. I'm not so sure you could say the same thing about your child. I pray that one day you will grow a heart and have the decency to tell me where my daughter is so we can have a proper burial for her. You owe that much to your own son, and my daughter deserves that.
I want to bring us up to speed here and just allow you guys to see what will happen in the future. Mike Ballard, who is Tommy Ballard's brother, spoke right after the sentence was delivered, and he said that he thinks the focus will shift to Tommy's unsolved case, of course, with the Commonwealth looking to indict anyone in that case. I also wanted to mention that some reporting that I did yesterday on appeals, Robert Boyd, who is counsel for Joseph Lawson, said that he will immediately file a formal appeal. That appeal will go directly to the Kentucky Supreme Court. I also wanted to give a little bit of background on these sentences. Of course, they are the maximum sentence along with what the jury recommended, but Sims says a lot of family members asked to give Houck life without parole. Well, he said that that is not Kentucky law. In Kentucky, the most that someone can get is life. Doug, Connie.
Alexandra, thank you so much for that report. We'll see you again in a few minutes.
Again, this is breaking news coverage. We have team coverage for you throughout the evening here on WHAS 11 News. And stay with us, and want to tell you about our special coming up later tonight on WHAS 11 Plus. That, of course, is our app. That is at 9 p.m. tonight. I'll be joined by Nick Mudd, our legal analyst, Alexandra Goldberg, and we'll be talking about this case and the sentencing today. Brooks Houck getting life in prison.